Hey class, Dr. Akamon here, back with another Fate Grand Order Psychology short. This time we're discussing a highly mysterious character first properly introduced in Atlantis, David Bluebook. We don't know what this guy looks like quite yet, if we ever will find out, but we do know a decent amount about him. He somehow survived the bleaching, and he's wandering around trying to figure out what the hell happened. He hates crowds, has spent most of his life far away from people, and broke into Area 51 to get to the truth. Fun fact before we get into the psychology of it all, his last name is almost certainly a reference to Project Bluebook, a US government investigation into several UFO sightings. Okay, anyway, psychology time. One of the remarkable things about David Bluebook is that he's got hyperthymesia. He describes it himself, but let's dig a little into detail. What's hyperthymesia? Hyperthymesia, first discovered in 2006, is a kind of phenomenon regarding memory. Now, most people don't have great memories, myself included. This is kind of true for people with hyperthymesia, but it's a bit better than the typical person. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the three types of memory. So there are three main types of memory: semantic, procedural, and episodic. Semantic memory is stuff like general knowledge, like what's the capital of Nauru? How many pints are there in a gallon? And how many of these accursed eggs do I need to max Arjuna Altar's skills? Then there's procedural. That's your memory on how to do stuff. How do you start a car? How do you ride your bike? How do you get a Japanese iTunes gift card so you can roll in the JP server's guaranteed SSR New Year's gotcha? As far as semantic and procedural memory are concerned, people with hyperthymesia are pretty normal. Our buddy David would bomb the vocab portion of his standardized test just as hard as anyone, and take just as long to learn how to make an origami crane. It's episodic memory where these people really shine. Episodic memory is memory that deals with things you've seen and experienced. For example, that time you went to an anime con, or your 10th birthday party, or the nightmare that was that one fight in Olympus. Sorry, North America server, you're in for a beating. Anyway, you take your episodic memory and toss in a sprinkling of semantic memory, and you get a blend we call autobiographical memory. This is your memory about your life. Hyperthymesia is called highly superior autobiographical memory for a reason. People like Mr. Bluebook here have an insanely good memory about events in their lives. They'll be able to tell you the exact date and day of the week they first started playing FGO. They'll know what they saw in the news that day and who they talked to, even if it's a full decade later. This might be a brain thing. LePort and colleagues in 2012 found actual physical differences between the brains of average people and the brains of people with hyperthymesia. Of course, this isn't exactly a superpower, and it's nowhere near perfect. People with hyperthymesia may have really accurate recall when they're thinking of a real event, but they're just as, and sometimes even more, prone to forming false memories than the average person. So, in a way, their memory is both more and less reliable than people without hyperthymesia. David says his hyperthymesia causes him a lot of distress, that it's the reason he moved out to the countryside, and that his friends considered it a disability. This is kind of an odd reaction, I think. I can't find any empirical evidence of hyperthymesia being associated with any kind of distress. There is one article from a philosopher that claims people with hyperthymesia are stuck in the past and can't look forward into the future, but it doesn't actually present any evidence of this, and kinda, based on my understanding, seems to misunderstand what hyperthymesia is in the first place. Maybe it does cause these people distress. Some experts theorize that it shares some features with obsessive-compulsive disorder, but there's no data on that yet, at least that I can find. This is still a super new area, so there really isn't a whole lot of research on it. Honestly, I do find it a bit weird that Bluebook said that scientists were really interested in him in his childhood. There aren't a lot of people looking at this. The most prolific researcher in hyperthymesia that I could find only got her PhD in 2014, so the year before Solomon incinerated humanity, and she left academia to go work in industry that same year. Though she did do her research at UC Irvine, which is decently close to Nevada, So, assuming that David Bluebook lived in that area, maybe he was one of her participants in FGO's universe? Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Take care, and I hope that all of you have a wonderful winter break.